Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome back to the Anello Show on WJJL 1440, and you can call us live at 297-1059, 297-1059. And one of the things that I'd like to bring up right away is that please, for today, at least for today, because I do this almost every show, but at least for today, let's try to stick to the subject matter. We have two businessmen, local businessmen, who've taken their time to come to the show and express their opinions on two very hot items in the city of Niagara Falls. One is the police station that they're putting in over at right on the Gorge, which for me, I don't understand where all the tree huggers are. Let's face it, we have a green mayor, we have a green city planner, we have the LaSalle Pride, we have the River Keepers. Where are they? Where are they? Because if you read between the lines, one of the reasons why they're doing this is so that we can commercialize further Goat Island. Because the police station that's on Goat Island, it's going to have commerce. So when are we going to start getting green over here? It's just important to me that at least we talk about it as a community. On this issue, I guess people have known about it for quite a few months, but not the community. Just a few chosen people, and I haven't heard a word of rebuttal, complaint, or just saying, look, I'm not happy with it. So again, let's try to stick to the subject matter. Mr. Shawn Weber has been on the news, discussing this particular issue. So you'll be here to talk about that. And then the other hot item in Niagara Falls is the garbage totes. And the only thing I can say is, folks, I know that a lot of shots are going to the administrator, but in this particular issue, this is another issue that we have to look at the entire city government. Because why weren't the laws enforced in the first place? Why has it been such a secret? Why wasn't this rolled out in a way that would fit our own community better? I mean, let's face it, when you have recycling at 4%, there's something wrong there. Getting a bigger bin isn't going to help. Having enforcement is just going to, sure, it's going to generate revenue, and maybe it might teach some people a lesson, but the fact of the matter is that I think it would have been nicer for the last 6 years, since we do have somebody in city government that the administrator, that's her expertise. You would think that there would have been some steps taken early on where this wouldn't have been such a big bite all at one time. So again, I want to say to my guest, I want to welcome my guest, Craig Avery. How you doing, Craig?
I'm good, Vince. It's great to be here again.
Okay, good. And Shawn Weber, how you doing, Shawn?
Very good, Vince. Glad to be here.
Well, one of the things I want to point out for both of you that you do have skin in the game because both of you are developers and investors right here in the city of Niagara Falls. So when people say about developers and investors, put your money where your mouth is, you've already done that, and you have skin in the game, to talk, to say it like they say it here in Niagara Falls. Okay, you have skin in the game.
Yes,
so I'll
do.
welcome both of you. Shawn, did you want to go first with the issue of the police station?
Well, it was a few weeks ago when we had I'm a vice chair of the Tourism Advisory Board, and we had Mark Thomas and Angela Birdie come in from the state parks, and they were giving us an outline of all the improvements they're doing on Goat Island, Niagara Reservation Park, and just very, quietly they slipped in the idea that they're putting in this 7,000 square foot police barracks right behind the Howard Johnsons, right at the end of the parkway. And, we had heard stories about it, but, we were thinking it's maybe in the planning stages, the development stages. But Mark Thomas said to us, it's done. It's going. It's happening. And we were somewhat shocked. Mm-hmm. This community's been fighting for 10, 15 years on removing that parkway to create more Gorge access. And they're going to build a 7,000 square foot office building in probably one of the nicest pieces of property on the Gorge, on the Gorge itself.
Well, but see, this is what bothers me. Number one, we weren't brought into the conversation to where it could be discussed as a community. That's number one. Number two, I have some a personal experience in this where, let's face it, the state park has not treated the city of Niagara Falls well for many, many years. They can take credit and cut ribbons for the money that's been invested in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, rebuilding the bridge and all of that. But the fact of the matter is, the money that we're receiving now, it's actually maintenance money that wasn't spent on the park or the bridge or anything else for many, many years.
Right. It was interesting in that meeting because the regional director was going on and on about, remember how bad this was in the park? Remember how crummy
their
this
park.
sidewalk? I'm like, why was it crummy all those years? You were there the whole time.
It's their park, dear God, But
Well,
but anyway,
is the amount of time they've spent. I recently moved to the Parkway Apartments, taking a walk on Goat Island, and to see a world attraction like Niagara Falls, just taking their time with the construction, the orange fences. That's an embarrassment. And it isn't just a seasonal summer when the tourists are here. People are here 365 days a year looking at that waterfall, and it's just embarrassing. Why aren't they working 24/7 with lights on to get an attraction
done.
like that, up and running and impressive?
Well, and let's remember, too, that this all came about, from what I understand, there was an article, I believe was in the New York Times, that completely criticized how bad the conditions of the park were.
Right.
So all of a sudden, all these improvements started coming.
Yeah,
I don't think
exactly.
it was a plan. I think they were embarrassed into doing it.
no, again, I mean, let's face it, even if they talk about $25 million, okay, $15 to $25 million, they've held back $15 to $25 million in the last 15, 20 years from maintenance that should have been done at the park
Absolutely.
right along.
Absolutely.
Goat Island, you name it. But a little bit at a time, it's becoming more commercialized, and this is what I thought that all the environmentalists and conservationists were going to be upset about, and I haven't heard a word from anybody.
Right. No,
Okay.
it's been very quiet.
And I would think the mayor would be the loudest voice. I would have expected a picture of the mayor tied to a tree, handcuffed to a tree next to the gorge saying, hell no, I won't go.
Right.
And I didn't see that, and I thought that would have made a beautiful picture,
Yeah. Yeah.
We do have some people on the line. Caller, you're on. No, I guess we lost our caller there. But again, I think it's important that we address these issues and address them in a way that community is part of the game. I mean, let's face it, we're all in this together. And caller, you're on.
Yeah, Vince. I think the state park is doing just a magnificent job. I drive from Lewiston up to my credit union that's at the post office, and along the lower parkway, or let's say from the Power Authority into the Whirlpool State Park, and they turned it from a state park into a beautiful state forest. You cannot see the Canadian side even. It's so thick. And they don't cut the grass. There's all kinds of wildlife, I'm sure, living there, snakes and birds and skunks and maybe a politician or two from the state. I don't know.
It's funny that you mentioned that, because yesterday I did go to that area and I walked, across from the aquarium, and then I took a ride from the Howard Johnsons over to Finley Drive and came back on Whirlpool Street, and you can't see Canada from there because the vegetation is so heavy.
That was purposely done. And do you know why? Because if you were to see the other side and see all the construction, the tall buildings, you'd say, what else going on our side? Well, with that growth there, you can't see it. So, nobody's going to bitch.
So there is a method to the madness then, right?
I think.
All right.
You know what? That is absolutely disgraceful. I mean, it's worse than disgraceful, the way they've taken. That's a state park. It's not a state forest. Come on. Environmentalists, get your head out of your behind and say Allegheny County and make it look like that, but not Niagara Falls.
And it's unfortunate, though, that we don't hear the regular voices that you see in front of the mic anytime a conservationist gets his or her toes stepped on. I just feel bad that, we don't have the support necessary for things like this, for protecting the gorge.
Yeah.
You know
what? And one last thought. If I don't know if you ever walked You park at the aquarium, walk across, and take that old railroad right away down to the foot of the Whirlpool Bridge.
Yeah.
Do yourself a favor sometime and walk that path. The city or the park, all you have to do is put a couple of guys down with chainsaws, cut some of the brush off of that road, maybe take a bulldozer down it. That is a fantastic sight. And it would be free, a walking trail down to the foot of the Whirlpool Bridge. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's breathtaking. And it's just, going unnoticed.
It is, and it's but doesn't that show that the state, really, state government is too far away from Niagara Falls for them to notice it on a daily basis? I mean, why wouldn't they notice things like that? Why do people have to drive on the parkway with all that wild grass growing all over the place and telling us that they're trying to bring it to a natural state? Well, if you're going to do that, then do all of us a favor, give it back to the Senecas. If that's where you want to bring it to, give it back to the Senecas, stop the arguing. But the fact is that I think it's another step to commercialize the Falls area for their own good. And when it comes to commercializing it for the general fund of the state of New York, they don't care what they do to the Gorge or anything else for that matter. Thank you very much, caller. Thank you.
Another point is affecting the local businesses. You've got Rainbow Helicopter that's been a long-established business, a great tourist attraction. It's a great promotion for this area to be able to see the falls, through the helicopter. And they were never even notified. They were never approached or any conversation at all with them, which will affect their flight path, which will affect the visibility of their operation. That's a long established. We're not talking a lemonade stand. We're talking about a very successful business that was totally ignored in this and is going to be very much affected.
Right, and it's a Niagara Falls business.
Sure.
You know what I'm saying? This is
Yeah,
what bothers me, is that they don't care about the city. I mean, they really don't. I mean, not that they go out of their way not to care, it's just we're not even in their
Right. If you go
consciousness.
If you go on the Niagara Reservation website for the state parks and you look at their website, they have a map of the state park, and around the park, it's kind of like a artistic drawing. They show nothing outside of the park.
Right.
They show a vast green space, like it's in a field.
Right.
They don't put shopping district, business district,
Yeah.
restaurants, hotels, nothing.
That the
Police
front,
station.
the front,
Right.
the front gate, the front gate to the state park is, 50 feet from the Hard Rock Cafe, which is
Right.
in Niagara Falls. They won't, they won't
Right.
show
Yeah, they
you
don't
that.
want to. Well, it's even like on the busy weekends when they go on the parkway and they put up signs, directing people
Right.
not to go into the city, just
Right.
to go straight into the park.
Oh, no, exactly. No, it's not look, I know we have to be nice to each other, okay, and be polite and all that, but they haven't treated the city of Niagara Falls well. I used to make sure that every public appearance that I had to talk about the city and the park, I always would say, our effort with the master plan is to meld the city and the park in a seamless transition, where when you're coming out of the park, you don't realize that you're in the city of Niagara Falls, and when you come out of the city of Niagara Falls, you don't realize that you're in the park. I didn't mean build a wall between the two. What I meant was, let's fix it all up.
Right.
So that the edge between the park and the city is pleasant to where tourists coming off the park won't have a problem walking
Right.
another 2 blocks, a block or two
It's
into
like
the
the
city.
tourists shouldn't even realize.
Right, that's
there
what I'm
is a park.
saying.
It's just one,
Just-
area that's joined together.
Right,
to
and so
provide a
let's
good
fix
experience.
that part of the city where people feel comfortable enough to say, well, let's see what's on the next block. Let's see what's on the next block. But they don't
prior,
do that.
Prior to the Olmsted plan, one of the
He
reasons.
must be rolling over in his grave right now.
One of the reasons when they started with the Olmsted plans that years ago they would put up big walls.
Oh, yeah.
And they'd have holes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
they would charge people to look through.
Yeah, I've read articles and books about that where the rich people that control their property. You're right.
Right.
And-
Right. No. And I look at this police barracks, as a big wall.
No,
You know,
it
Now,
was
what
just
is-
another piece.
What is our remedy? What could the community do now? They've got this thing, as Mark said, it's done. Is there a way that we could have them reconsider the location for this police station and then explain the need for it? We took this tour with the state last month with a number of developers to consider redevelopment and reuse of all the buildings controlled by the state park. So we went through their office administration building near the parking lot. We went to the buildings on Goat Island, the buildings at DeVoe Woods. They're beautiful.
Oh, yes.
Why, I don't understand, if they were looking for developers to come up with ideas for usages of those, why weren't those buildings considered for the police station? What do they need for a police station? Do they need a jail? I don't think so. I think they use the jail
Yes,
here.
at the city.
What do they need? They need some ropes and some
Yeah.
buoys and
And I guess a beautiful view,
yeah.
by the way it's laid out.
So I don't know. Do we have a remedy, or are we just complaining here?
Well, again, we have our petition going online. It's on Niagara Hub. You know, that we you know, the more signatures, you know, if we get enough signatures, the politicians listen to that stuff. And I think if people call their representatives, call the mayor, call the state assemblymen, call the state senator, I don't know if this can be stopped, but whatever anybody can do.
It's funny because we're just finishing the 100-year celebration of the War of 1812, and
Aren't you 2 years late on that, or what?
no, but the celebrations will finish off this year.
Okay.
To celebrate because they recreated a lot of things of the war, from 2012, So what I'm thinking is maybe they don't realize that we lost the war with Canada, we made peace, and we don't have to keep an eye on them. Maybe it's a tower, and just to keep an eye on Canada. Caller, you're on.
Hey, how you doing, guys? Hey, does anybody know the process of how they acquired the land? I mean, is it because they're parks police and they're just able to go anywhere where there's state land, or was it eminent domain? Was it? Does anybody know the process of how it was acquired?
Well, if we didn't even know it was going to be there, I guess we were kept at the other conversation too,
Well, all that property, back when they did the Robert Moses Parkway, that was all state land.
Right.
And I don't think they need approval from anybody.
What's strange about this is we've always talked about being part of the state park, but in fact, Congressman Higgins just maybe a year or so ago
That's what I was gonna
uncovered the fact that the Power Authority is actually responsible because at one time they had the authority to take over that land when they took those houses in DeVoe, and took the street and moved the street and all that. So I wonder how much of the Power Authority is involved in this too. But the fact remains that it's a state, it's a state. We were left out of it.
Right. I mean, the state owns all the best property in Niagara County.
Oh, yeah.
When you go from the
It's pretty
Falls
clear
down to
the public was
Youngstown.
left out of the whole of what happened there. And we knew they were looking for a new place, but had no idea they were going to be putting it there.
Well, I personally think that we should have at least some kind of demonstration to show disfavor, because the only way that the governor is going to read about this, you don't think that they're sending emails over there to the state saying, state capitol saying, Niagara Falls is really upset about this, we better think about it. No, they're not, but until they read it in the Wall Street Journal. So what we need to do is have a demonstration that it's important enough to where they do read it in Albany. And the other thing that I'm wondering, have you heard anything from Senator Maziarz or Assemblyman Soretto about
It's
this?
awful quiet.
Yeah, I
Those
haven't
guys
heard
have been
anything
awful
about
quiet
it.
about this whole
Because I certainly, Senator Maziarz is going to be on my program the 26th, I believe, and I plan on asking him, not in a way that, not that I expect him to do anything about it, but how, it was quiet here.
How is this-
How quiet was it in Albany that they were doing this? And just to find out what the heck is going on. Why are we part of the conversation?
Right. No, and the other
Somebody must have known something. And let's talk about the garbage a little bit. Now, you had Virtuoso on the other day, right?
Right, yeah.
And she said that she received something from the city that she's going to be getting totes, and she has a small business.
Right.
Right?
Right, she
Now,
has
my brother who owns a small business on 24th Street
Right.
got a letter yesterday saying
Right.
he's going to be receiving totes.
Yeah, and
even though he has dumpsters on his property now.
Right, and now, see, that's interesting, because now, my brother has a business on Pine Avenue, and he received a letter saying that he has to get his own dumpster now. So,
See,
wouldn't it be nice if we knew what each classification of business was going to be and classify the businesses. For instance, I know when it comes to filing permits, electrical permits, it makes a difference. It makes a difference how many apartments you have, whether it's considered
Right.
residential or commercial, because there is a classification that's called residential commercial. You know, it's more than, 4 units or more. All right, and then you know that if you go more than 2 floors, I think it is, or 3 floors, you have to have a sprinkler system, even if it's a residential unit. So what I'm getting at is there are different classifications. Was this laid out on a chart and said, okay, we know that this business has been operating this way for X number of years. Now, are we changing the rules? Are we reinforcing the laws? Are we making the laws one way for some people, one way for another?
Well, I heard if you handle food products, you're handled differently.
Okay.
If your business I don't have anything to put my head on, but I just heard that kicking around from people.
Well, that could be possible.
It seems like people who handle food products have to get their own dumpsters.
Well, that's great, because my brother doesn't handle food products. So, but he did receive a letter that says that he has to get a dumpster.
Well, grapes are a food product, aren't they?
No, not if you do it right. You squeeze everything out of it you can, buddy. You squeeze everything out of it that you can.
So I don't know. Has anybody heard that? Or is that just a rumor?
I'll tell you, my point in this whole thing, and I don't care at all about the particulars of food products or totes or 4 apartments or not. We are all wasting our time trying to figure this out when we have a person in place at City Hall, the city administrator, who came to us as a waste guru. Why wasn't this spelled out? Why isn't this very clear? Why aren't there very succinct descriptions, definitions? And this thing should have been thought out and worked out long before we have to sit here and waste our time going back and forth saying, how come my letter says this, his letter says that? It's absolute BS, and it has nothing to do with the particulars. It has to do with the way this was acted on, and the fact that we don't have a program here. So why don't we all just do the job of the city administrator ourselves and just kind of figure it out with talk shows? We'll spend 12 years talking it out, but this is ridiculous.
You're right. It's just unbelievable. I mean, it just was not handled properly whatsoever. Just for public information aspect to, are we doing this because of a law? I heard it was because it's a state law that we have to have totes. Anybody heard that?
Wow.
Look, Chris, remember we changed sanitation. We privatized sanitation in the mid-'90s when Mayor Galley was mayor, and I was on the council at the time. Totes was discussed even then, okay?
Right.
Now
it's been kicked around for a long time.
The problem was that Modern didn't have enough trucks to take care of the city of Niagara Falls with totes. That was number one. At least that's what was said to me when I was sitting on the council. We looked into it. I know that Mayor Elia looked into it. I know that I looked into it. The problem that Mayor Elia faced and I faced was we didn't have the money. The reason, I believe, that one of the reasons that we rushed into this like this without any preparation whatsoever was because we have a pool of money. You see how easy it was to say we're going to spend $2.1 million to buy the totes, and with casino money we're going to get $60,000 to hire the inspectors. That was so easy. All you needed was one meeting. One meeting, you got it all done.
Good point.
Okay?
That's a good point.
This is why I keep saying why isn't there a policy, a written policy on how we spend casino money? Because it's so easy to spend casino money right now, you're not going to start thinking about it until it runs out. So what I'm saying is set a policy, set guidelines, and quit spending casino money for everything you think is necessary for the city, or you think it'd be a nice little extra for the city. The point is, the reason other mayors didn't do it was because the money wasn't there, or that the Modern at the time wasn't ready for it. Simple as that. It wasn't that it's a brand new idea brought in by this by this administration is so avant-garde, and they know everything. No, it's because they have a pool of money and they don't care how they spend it.
Well, and part of the problem with this is that when you look at, they're saying that this is going to save a lot of money. For who? I mean, it was mentioned at the council meeting the other day that, we're last in the county in recycling. The problem with that is we're number one in the county as far as tax rate for commercial businesses.
Right.
We have the highest tax rate of anybody. And they're going to save money, but that's not going to be passed on, to the private business owner. And in fact, in many cases, it's going to cost the private business owner more.
Yeah.
So when you're coming up with a big plan, and I mentioned this to the city administrator, you need to, when you're coming up with an extra, call it burden, expense, requirement, the private sector should get something in return. There should be some benefit. All we see is, well, we're going to save money. I'm not going to save money. The city is going to save money theoretically, and then where's that money that they're saving going to go? I don't know.
Well, they hired 3 more inspectors. You know what's going to happen with the 3 more inspectors? They didn't hire part-time people, I don't believe. Okay, so you hire a full-time person, which I'm not saying you don't need them, but what I'm getting at is you're going to have to add that expense to whatever you save. And you're already looking, with 3 people, you're looking at $150,000, $175,000 when you consider the benefits and future retirement or whatever. Okay, now I don't know exactly what their hiring issue was, but in the paper it did not say they were part-time workers. Okay, so we're going to go from casino money to taxpayers' money very quickly.
Right.
Very quickly, unless they have a time limit on these inspectors. Once they have a time limit on these inspectors, how are they going to address it in the future? Because you don't think enforcement is going to work if you do it.
Well-
The reason we have cops is because it doesn't matter how many traffic tickets they give out, people keep making mistakes.
Right. And anytime you talk about time limits with the government, I mean,
Yeah, right.
there's not supposed to be a toll on the Grand Island Bridge.
Right.
I mean, these things never go away.
Right.
Okay, Chris, I have other callers.
Okay, guys.
No, did we cover everything you wanted to cover?
Yeah, that's good. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chris, I appreciate it.
I think an important part of this is, again, the timing. This was rushed through. Modern has a great relationship with the city of Lockport. They took 3 years in rolling this program out, getting the businesses on, getting the residents understanding what's going to happen. This thing was just
Well, it's very reminiscent
Bamboozled.
to the rollout of Obamacare.
Yeah.
And this is our version of Obamacare rollout.
That's what I mentioned at the meeting the other day, and the city administrator didn't quite get that. I said, well, remember the old, we gotta vote for it before we get a chance to read it, because
Right.
then we can read it and find out what this is all about. So, all right.